Let's check out the birds. All right. So here we are at Dobson Ranch Park. Thanks for joining. I never know what I'm going to talk about or if I need to talk, but I'd like to have something to talk about because I think a lot and I like to talk to people and I like to hear people's opinions. It'd be nice when I have viewers to have feedback and more topics based on what people are curious to discuss. But for now, I had a thought on the way here on the freeway when I saw a car parked at the side of the road, with one of those orange stickers saying, warning, something, you'll get towed. I've never had any of my cars in that position. Never known anyone to have to leave a car somewhere long enough to get one of those stickers, because usually if your car breaks down, you get it towed, you get it fixed, you get it pulled, whatever, you deal with it right away. And I got to thinking, well, not everybody has the finances or the means or the know-how to get things taken care of quickly, because everybody has a different perspective on life, everybody has a different situation in life. And it got me thinking about how, there's a lot of cases where we can judge another person and think, well, I don't understand why they don't just do this. I don't understand why they don't think this way. Well, probably because they're not you. You think the way you think and do things the way you do things because of the world you're in, because of the background you have, because of the experience you have. But not everybody's nobody's in that same situation. So everyone's going to behave a little differently. Now, if you think, but everybody knows that you just get your car fixed and towed and whatever. Okay, but you haven't considered the outliers. And there are outliers. They're like, oh, but those are rare. Well, how many cars do you see at the side of the road? Not very many. It's rare too. So it only makes sense. And the grace that we find that we should give each other for being unique, for being individuals. The allowance of the imperfections as we might prefer them, is something that I feel like is critical for the human race to gain that skill, because I see so many people bicker and complain about anything or anyone that isn't or doesn't behave the way that you would expect. It's very empowering. Again, empowerment comes up whenever you let go of something that has been holding back your ability to better manage situations and people and stuff. So the more we can pay attention to the reality that people are different and have different outlooks and different history, different experiences. Experiences really shape your reaction to new experiences. So, I think about how if somebody's behaving a certain way that I'm like, I just don't understand, or it seems like it hurts my feelings that they act this way, because I know in that case I wouldn't act that way. Everybody processes things through the lens that they have based on how they grew up, what environment they're in, what they've been exposed to, the viewpoints they've opened their minds to as far as media or their culture or people around them, what they say. And so we're all processors of this world, of this life experience. And none of us have it wrong. We're all just incomplete. Nobody's knowledge and wisdom is wrong, the way I see it. Some might be corrupted based on physical disabilities or because of so much clashing of the information, it doesn't come together properly, but it's not wrong, it's just incomplete. The more that you can add to it, now their individual process may have caused them to close off to certain additional data, which at that point they will have a hard time processing that data properly. But they are receiving data. They're data receivers. We all are. And we all collectively bring this data together. And obviously, the more you close off to data that you're not familiar with or that doesn't seem to fit with your data, you just cast it out. But all data has value because data is just data. It's truth, it's fact. But we aren't meant to entirely, individually pull apart all that data and figure out the truth all by ourselves. The only reason we know what we know about anything, about science, about history, is what others have passed on to us from what they've collected. Any individual is very limited in the data that they have and their ability to discern it and piece it together, because only fractions of the data don't tell the whole story. The more that we can work together, listen to each other's data, find what's factual and what they're interpreting incorrectly, and parse those apart, just work together, trusting that everyone is trying to collect valuable data, good factual data. Some people aren't, they're not aware of it, but they are collecting it. They are subconsciously attempting to find truth, good, connection, stuff like that. When they can't, then it garbles it up. But the data that they're collecting and the mistakes they make because of their viewpoint on that data can be valuable data for us. So one way or another, we can make good use of any situation that we run into and any people from any perspective. So people aren't me. People aren't going to do things the way I do things. They're not going to think the way I think. And the more that I can accept that people are different, some people have a struggle with that in their marriage. When I was married, that was my biggest problem is, well, I think this way. How come it seems like she doesn't? Well, it's because she's not me. You live and learn. Anyway, if we all can see each other as a unique data point for this Mother Earth Gaia that we live on, that we're all investigating together, working together to understand and to experience fully, we have a lot more patience, a lot more grace and love and compassion for the individuals. I can talk about how the government works this way, or men and women, the clash, but what it comes down to is individuals dealing with individuals. And all we individuals can control is our individual self. So my perspective, my ability to see another person and interpret them as another valid data point, it just frees you up. It liberates your mind in a way to where you can see yourself in others. You can see your problem-solving skills, or maybe somebody that hasn't progressed in certain ways. You can see that, okay, that person hasn't learned how to process their data as well yet. But I can understand, I can see through that, I can see that that's the case with them. And so I will take this data as possibly corrupted data, possibly, needs a little better analyzing, but you don't hold it against the individual, the data collector. You're like, thank you for your data. I personally will help process this data my way. You'll process my data your way. And in the end, what rises to the top is what's tried and true, what's proven, and what works and what's good. Anyway, the message of today is mostly just about individuals. As individuals, our only job is to maintain our own individual approach to other individuals and their experience. So if somebody upsets you, That's your action. It's you choosing to be upset at that moment. It's very reactionary because as a kid, you have to react to things more. But as an adult, we have the ability to step back and not react to everything. We can process it and think, okay, yeah, I might have the instinct from when I was a kid of reacting to this, thinking that this was a personal attack or thinking this was somebody trying to oppress me, and it may have some truth to what they're actually trying to do. But if you allow it to happen to you, is your choice. If you allow yourself to be offended, if you allow yourself to be oppressed, that's entirely on you. So guard yourself, see yourself, and then see yourself in others. Look for the way that they're reacting or acting as being something that maybe you experience too. And so you can have that kind of compassion to step back and think, okay, there's something deeper going on here. I've got to a point where I can step back and evaluate it properly instead of just react to it. So I personally love that ability, and I look for opportunities to exercise that ability by everybody that I see in the world is another beautiful, interesting angle of the experience that I presently am experiencing. I'm experiencing it from this data point on the world globe, and everyone else has their point. None are more valid than the others. Some are more corrupt than the others, corrupted or incomplete or misled at how they process that data, but the data is there. And with the right minds, it can be processed more purely. So let's take some time and consideration when connecting with people that they are individuals building their own view of the world just as we are. If that makes sense to you, I appreciate you opening your heart and mind to my message. If it doesn't, that's understandable. Not everyone is at the same viewpoint of what I'm seeing. But if you want some clarification or want to discuss something else, let me know. All of my viewers, I love you. All of those people that don't view me, start viewing me. I love you all. Don't know who you are, how you are, what you feel, what you think, but I know you're whole and complete in your imperfect ways. Let's see what's going on in this part of town. Nice little park here. Always another new little park to check out. Let's go up here, over the bridge. See where this takes us. Who says you got to be a kid to appreciate playgrounds, parks, and cool areas? Not this guy. Hey guys, I was just driving around town trying to figure out what spots to go or what to talk about, trying to get inspired on a topic, but really none of these videos matter as much as future videos because I don't really have any viewers or subscribers that are paying attention. They might go back and watch some of my old content like this at some point, but I don't need to worry about it too much, stress out the topics and stuff, and try to the instinct is to try to make one better than the previous, each one better. But maybe in the future I'll have a more steady flow and concept of what to talk about and when. I'll have people that can chime in. I'll have interviews and stuff, which will make it a lot more interesting because I'm just one person. I want to talk to other people. So I'm going to start doing, campuses or public areas where I interview people, but I'm avoiding some of that during the first 30 days because I need to make sure I push myself to actually make the content each of the first 30 days, as opposed to, trying to overthink it too much to where I drop the ball. And, I'm trying to hit my 30-day challenge. So thanks for coming along and your patience and your interest, and have fun. Have a good rest of your week. Happy holidays.